Robert Ryan, favorite resource for foundations in SEO. Background, I want to improve the search ranking on a brand new Shopify site. I may use plugins, but I'd like to understand the gist of how they accomplish the task. Craig Chamberlain, I'll probably call you later about that book you recommended, I think. I think that's what he said. Do you
Okay.
have any recommendations for him?
Well, it's got to be the Shopify site. I haven't used Shopify, but that's hosted on WordPress, yeah? I think it
I don't
is.
know. I think it might be
Yeah.
standard. I think it
Because I
may
think
be.
Shopify, it can be hosted on there.
I'm pulling it up
There's
here.
but let's just say he has it on his own website. So what I would say for that is generally product pages, they're not going to be too heavy on content. Again, I know this from, for example, my Lady Umbrella site where I'm trying to sell stuff just like you might be trying to sell stuff if you have Shopify integrated on your site. So what I would say do is instead of focusing too much on the individual product pages, focus on the pages that you can put around your product pages to bolster them. So that is going down the old blogging route and kind of drumming up the chestnut that you need some quality content. So what I would suggest that you do is kind of whatever you're trying to sell or whatever people might be searching for relating to your niche. So if I'm thinking he's on the telephone or something there, and you can just ask him the question. Well, what are you selling? What are you selling?
I think it's the e-cigarettes is what he's selling,
Okay,
if I recall.
so for e-cigarettes, the route I would take there would be to talk about the science of it, because a lot of people, I'm sure, if they're thinking about using e-cigarettes or not, they might, well, how safe are they? So maybe have some articles about that. Then I would also have a lot of articles about what are the most recent products hitting the market, whatever the latest developments are, cover all that sort of stuff so that people, if they're searching, you're in the running at least for your site to be found. It may not be the actual product page that gets found, but it's one of the pages that you can do a lot more SEO work around that will be found. And so if you have kind of a few pillar pages on your site that you want to, say for example, you might have a raspberry flavor e-cigarette, okay? So you have this page, raspberry flavor e-cigarette, which has the details about it, but then you have 3 or 4 blog posts which happen to talk about raspberry flavored e-cigarettes, and each of these blog posts would have an internal link or two pointing back to the pillar page. So eventually that pillar page will get a little bit of Google love, because all the other sub pages will be saying, well, this is the pillar page for raspberry flavored e-cigarettes. And
I was waiting for you to say internal links. I was waiting for you to drop that. Those are huge when you're talking about doing any kind of product linking or e-commerce for SEO, because it's like you said, it's so tough to optimize a product page for search engines.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to put anything in there that isn't already put on every other product page that's already displaying that product page in the market? Now, I actually have a question on that front, which is related to his, and you may actually be able to answer this. It's one that's always kind of plagued me. I don't really do an e-commerce site, but I always wondered, when you're talking about building a blog or something that goes along with an e-commerce site, do you just have a separate tab for a blog, or is there an appropriate way to do that? Do you put it on the home page, or do you put it on? Do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, again, yeah, if you're using WordPress, the blog is kind of automatically bolted on, and you have the option of just having the blog tab beside, say, your contact, shop, and about, or whatever it may be. And then how you go about implementing the blog on the site is it's up to you. What I like to do is to feed in, say, maybe 3 or 4 of your most recent blog posts to the homepage, and then possibly have 3 or 4 of your most recent blog posts linked in the footer as well. The reason why I do this, if you're approaching your blogging with a little bit of SEO in mind, then odds are the majority of your titles will contain some, keywords with a little bit of SEO McLovin attached to them. So every time you do a blog post and it feeds through to the homepage, it's going to be firstly making your homepage dynamic, so it'll be sending a little bit of a signal to Google saying, look, there's something moving, something changing on this homepage. Don't you forget about our site, because there's always something happening on our site. So you're going to get the robots sniffing around a little bit more frequently, which is good stuff. And what they're going to be picking up are keywords relating to your niche, but then also pointing back to your blog posts. So they'll definitely pick up your blog post quickly, and just all of this sort of stuff feeds into the overall Well, you're talking about how do you implement blogs? Sorry, I'm tired and rambling.
No, you're doing
but,
actually doing a great job.
So,
that's why I'm not saying anything.
so yeah, no, that's.
I'm just gonna let you talk the whole hour. I think.
So now I have the train of thought again. So basically, yeah, that's how I go about implementing blogs.
No, I like it. I like it. Basically making sure that you have you're obviously making it, the robot's well aware that the blog is a prominent part of your site in any way you can.
And just like so, if I can, on blogs and kind of doing that sort of stuff, it's important to pay attention, I think, to, if you're using WordPress, to tags and the categories. And I think you had Craig Fifield on a few weeks back talking about SEO, and this is also something that he mentioned, I think, and that was to be careful not to get too tag happy and too category happy, because what that'll do, it'll create lots of kind of pages with similar duplicate content, because you'll have, say, mysite.com/category/ my post number 1, but that post will also exist under mysite.com/my post number 1. So just by tying up,
it's funny that you bring up, because I've made every single one of those mistakes.
Yeah. But I think Craig, he went through it. It's the the Yoast plugin will sort you out there basically.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing about tags, and I actually I read that I was doing that WordPress. What the heck is that called? That book I was doing when I was going through that WordPress class in this. It was WordPress. I can't remember the name of it, but it had one of the best explanations of the differences between when to use categories and when to use tags. And I read the description, and I was like, man, I wish I had read this 2 years ago. Yeah, but basically, they said categories, it's best if you can to only have a blog post have a single category per post, if possible. And if you need to get more specific with your category, use tags, and never use more than, I think it said 4 to 6 tags per post, or try not to. And dude, I had like 40 tags, 50 tags on some posts. It was ridiculous. It was just
no, but that was the way it was back in the day with early SEO. Was just cram as much stuff in as you can.
Yeah.
I was guilty of that too when I was young and still wet behind the ears, but not anymore.
Now I've been spending the past 4 weeks after talking to Craig Fifield trying to undo all the damage I had done.
Well, he's the man to help you out, no doubt.